spite of writing some of the most happy music he had ever written, was not the happiest point in his life. In fact, he wrote this during a summer while he was trying to get a cure for what? His deafness. Right. And we think that that might be a major reason why he was such an irascible human being, and why, indeed, his music, some of it, turned out the way it did. To find out for sure, we're going to invite a special guest. I'd like you to give a warm welcome to our resident audiologist from the Advanced Hearing and Balance Center. Please welcome Dr. Brian Urban. So, what kind of deafness did Beethoven have? Do we know that?
What we know of his hearing loss is essentially probably starting in early to mid-20s. It was definitely progressive hearing loss, so by the time he was late 20s, early 30s, he likely had a severe profound hearing loss.
So we're talking already by the time of his third symphony that he had profound hearing loss, and he had to go on to write 6 symphonies after that, and so much more. There is a story of he was walking out in the woods with his friend Ferdinand Ries, who commented on the beauty of a shepherd led in the distance, and Beethoven was very upset and embarrassed that he didn't hear. With your patients, what kind of symptoms do they have? Do you have these similar symptoms to that?
Yeah, oftentimes it's a very consistent concern with people with hearing loss is that depending on the situation and the environment, they may hear certain things very well and struggle mildly with others. And it really affects their ability to engage in life the same way they always have. And Beethoven kind of talked about that in his Philharmonic Testament, where he talked about all the things he had embraced during his life, and that it was gradually taken away from him, and what a huge impact that his life.
That's a great thing to bring up. Are you all familiar with the Philharmonic Testament of Beethoven, where it was basically his will, but it was not to be read until after his death? And he talked about how incredible suffering he was, because this sense of hearing, which ought to be better in him than anyone else, was actually failing. And because of that, he felt that he had to be a recluse, that he couldn't go to social functions, that he actually considered himself to be quite a pussycat, but he couldn't show that. Do you find that with your patients as well?
Well, sure. I mean, you see it to varying degrees. Some people, it's as simple as they have difficulty in restaurants. Now they can't enjoy that anymore. They can't enjoy music as much. With him, it did go to a much higher level where he took great pains in that testament to talk about how inside he felt he was a very good person and a caring person. He wanted to show that to people, but yet his hearing loss limited him, so he couldn't engage people. He said, I want nothing more than to mingle, but I can't.
So is this just because he didn't want people to know he was losing his hearing?
That was sort of part of it. He had said in the testament too that he didn't feel like he could say to someone, "Speak louder, I can't hear you." One, because it was of course embarrassing, but two, because as you mentioned, the sense of hearing for him should be more acute than he felt that as he was growing, he had an extremely acute sense of hearing. So it was a deep loss for him.
So what happens with your patients? Do they find themselves withdrawn if they don't get hearing aids? They find themselves doing less and less in social situations?
Yeah, I mean, on average, it takes a person about 5 to 7 years from when they first feel they may have hearing loss to when they actually even get a test. So there's a very strong sense of people that want to even look into this, they don't want to really answer. But then people who do take that step, and it isn't always necessarily hearing instruments, there's a wide range of things that we can do to help. The idea of being able to kind of re-engage with life again and not being set back.
Now, how do you think that this would have affected the music that he wrote, both from the point of view of the emotion and maybe also from the point of view of the volume of his music?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, there's the most common type of hearing loss is that you lose the high frequency sounds, which are the clarity parts of speech, and then obviously high frequencies of music as well. So it's interesting to think when he was composing how he was hearing the music, but then when he was conducting, how he was seeing the music, how he was watching the performers and seeing their movements, and how if he's actually feeling the vibration of the sound versus actually hearing it.
And that's a really good point, because with these big accents that Beethoven always puts in his music, more than any other composer, I think, has accent, one after the other. Beethoven, standing there, even if he was deaf, would have been able to feel those vibrations, and that would have at least let him know the progress of the music. Sometimes even later in life when he was completely deaf, he conducted his music. And so I would think, I don't know, I guess we're only speculating, but I would think that some of those accents are certainly put in there just so that he could experience what he had written.
Right. And it makes good sense. I mean, one thing that was a big loss to him, of course, he was able to conduct, but he was unable to perform at a certain point. Actually, in his late 20s, he had to stop performing. That was a big loss for him. But it is quite remarkable he was able to continue to conduct and still experience music.
So he stopped performing on piano, but he was able to conduct. That's right. That's right. Wow. Thank you. That is so elucidating. Thank you so much to Dr. Brian Urban for